Deming was so highly thought of in Japan that they named an award after him and his teachings. Japanese companies strive for quality and continuous improvement, and one of the highest honors they can receive is the Deming Prize.
一般に管理というのはこの図が示すような手順、つまり計画、実施、チェック、アクションを繰り返して行うことにより、より高度の管理水準へと発展していくことができるのです。この管理のサークルを私たちが製品を作るときに適用したものが、皆さんご存知のデミングサークルと呼ばれるものです。There's a tiger on the market and I got the very first in town. She got a hearse floor shifter and the wildest moving mill around. I need a 389 all super tuned to really shut 'em down. Oh yeah, now go girl, drag strip.
But happy times were here again with the end of the war. Who needed something as dusty as statistical quality control? America didn't. Other economies had been eclipsed by the war effort. American industry stood tall, the world's provider. And even if the quality of American goods was only adequate, even questionable, there was nowhere else to go. The dictums of Deming were forgotten.
All new. All new systems.
Dr. Deming, revered in Japan, returned to Washington and a quiet suburban life. But Deming had identified a fallacy in American industry. Its success was due to the aftermath of the war, not to its own management skills. The accountants thought the figures added up, but Deming knew that the most important quotients cannot actually be measured.
Beware of figures. You better know how to use them. Be guided by theory. For example, you do some training, spend 20,000 pounds for training. And I mean training for a skill. You know, the cost shows on the ledger. No doubt about it, there's the amount. The benefit you'll never know. You cannot measure it.
It was American television that suddenly woke up to the 80-year-old prophet in their midst. It was to be the second Deming revolution.
You don't get ahead by making product and then separating the good from the bad, because it's wasteful. It wastes time of men who are paid wages. It wastes time of machines, if there are machines. It wastes material.
What we need is to have Dr. Deming.
The 90-minute program asked the critical question, why was America losing out to Japan? Dr. Deming appeared for just 9 minutes at the end.
And they did it, and they've done it well. Now
the next day, Deming's phone never stopped ringing. At last, the local prophet was being heard.
And I couldn't quite believe that there was this 80-year-old man who was living 5 miles from the White House that no one in America had heard of. I even went to the White House and talked to Charles Schultz, who was then chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, and I said, do you know W. Edwards Deming? And he said, is he Joe Deming's son? And I said, not unless Joe Deming is 110 years old. And he'd never heard of him.
The company presidents of America were queuing up to speak to him. One in particular made repeated calls on his time.
As I came to know Dr. Deming and we talked more frequently, I began to see how fundamentally important people are in his basic management principles. Time and time again, a key principle of his, you can see it starts with this respect for the human being that he inherently has. And that resonated so well with my own feelings that I quickly came to be very responsive to his ideas.
Ford's market share had slipped as a result of the Japanese competition. However much the Americans may have resented the imports, the fact was they were buying them. Peterson agreed with Deming that the poor quality of American cars was to blame.
The approach in America at that stage, and I must say also in Europe, was that if you were within the engineer's limits, plus or minus so many thousandths of an inch or whatever it is, millimeters, then that's good enough. quote, good enough, you know. The Japanese theory, which was demonstrated by this so vividly, picked up from Dr. Deming, was that you should be striving for continuous improvement.
In 1981, Ford, in partnership with Mazda, was building its first front-wheel drive car for America. The transmissions were being made partly in America, partly in Japan. Ford's engineers couldn't understand why the American transmissions were noisier and stiffer than the Japanese ones, until they pulled apart some samples.
When we tore the two down, we found, first of all, that they obviously paid great attention even to the appearance of, or the elegance almost, to an engineer or a manufacturer. The gears just were beautifully made. And then as we dimensioned them, they were operating within a much, much narrower range of tolerance, way within the specifications compared with the American firm. And that control and continuous improvement toward so little variation was leading to that transmission functioning in a far superior way in the hands of the customer.
Ford's market share increased during the 1980s. In 1988, it overtook General Motors. America's top executives voted Peterson the country's most effective leader. Don Peterson says that Ford's success in the 80s was entirely due to the quality transformation prompted by Dr. Deming. Suddenly, everyone was talking quality. The bandwagon of total quality management was rolling fast. Every management guru had a scheme and an expensive book which, properly adhered to, would lead your company to the sunny uplands of quality and profit.
Anything you can say, I can say faster.
I can say anything faster than you.
Dr. Deming is the first person to tell you there is no quick fix. I think there is no instant pudding is the way he puts it. People want a recipe, and quality is a way of thinking. It's a drastic change in how we think about everything we do and even in how we live. And you can't do that overnight. And American managers are very reluctant to change because when you get in a tight fix, you always want to go back and do what worked in the past. Well, it won't work anymore because the Japanese and people who are following them are doing things better.
With Dr. Deming's belated recognition in his own country came a reverence that borders on the religious. The Deming disciples flocked to hear his slow, mocking drawl at four-day seminars across America. Over the years, Deming has summarized his beliefs in 14 points. Moses only had 10. His fundamental belief in quality through continuous improvement stands alongside contentious ideas like the scrapping of performance-related pay.
I think the tragedy is people listen to him and then it seems so hard that they just take a little piece of it. American managers, for the most part, want a Chinese menu. They want to take some from A and some from B and some from C of the different quality philosophies or the quality experts, and it doesn't work that way.
In 1985, an American company based in Miami became the first outside Japan to win the Deming Prize.